Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Shamrock Sports. I'm here, Kieran, Cantwell, with John Bailey, and we have a lot to discuss. There have been some postseasons for the winter sports, so we'll get into those. Make sure to stay tuned. This is Shamrock Sports. All right, welcome back. So, John, we have a lot to discuss. We're going to go through men's and women's basketball. They both participated in March Madness in this past weekend, so let's get right into it. We're going to talk about our women's basketball team. So, finished tied for third in the ACC regular season. They are fifth seed in the Bridgeport region. They played their first and second round games at the Lloyd Noble Center in Oklahoma. And the first round matchup, they were facing off against the UMass Minutewomen. So let's take a look at how that game went. So here we go. We're playing at Oklahoma. Olivia Miles drops it off to Maddie Westbeld, finishes for the lay-in. Notre Dame gets the early lead in the first quarter. And then Maya Dotson, she had a great game on defense, got the block there, out in transition. Abby Prohaska finishes in the lane. Notre Dame goes up 10. Later in the first quarter, the give and go to Olivia Miles. She gets the and one, tough finish. Olivia Miles had a great game. She actually finished with a triple-double in her first appearance ever in March Madness. And so that was a pretty amazing feat. Here we go. In the second quarter, Olivia Miles splits the double team. Nice finish in the lane with the right hand. Back at Olivia Miles, kicks it out. And there's Dara Mabry hitting the three from the corner. And now here at the end of the first half, the UMass hits a half-court shot. Man. That was their leading scorer, Sam Breen, to keep it within single digits going into the half. UMass was storming back here, but that's when Olivia Miles and Dara Mabry really turned it on. Miles kicks it out. Mabry knocks down the three. Another three for Dara Mabry to separate the lead even more. And at this point in the game, we're here in the fourth quarter. Olivia Miles is one assist away from the triple-double, finds Maddie Westbeld in the corner, knocks down the three. Notre Dame holds on 89-78 in the first round. John, what were your takeaways from this game?
Well, first of all, just what an exciting time this is. We are in March, things are back in full swing in terms of, the games. You got full crowd. You can see everybody really getting into it there in Norman. It was just a great scene, and I'm really excited for this team this year. They came in, expected to finish sixth in the ACC, ended up finishing fourth, and I could not be more impressed with the Niele Ivy squad this year. I really think they don't have any true weaknesses, and this game against UMass demonstrated that. They have great depth, 1 through 5, and they all do exactly what they need to do. You talk about Olivia Miles. She's the floor general. She plays great perimeter defense, but also knows how to get her teammates involved. Dara Mabry, she's the sharpshooter, knocks down from 3. She was 5 of 8 that game against UMass. You have Maddie Westbeld, a bit of your prototypical modern 4. She can do it all. She can pop outside and hit a 3 like you saw. Will also bang down low with some of the, bigger girls down in the NCAA. Also, Maya Dotson is phenomenal. What a pickup she's been from Stanford this year. The graduate transfer. Great defense. She had 18 points, and she's always, a threat to block a shot. Completely changes the dynamic of the other team's offense because, when you see her standing there in the paint, you're not going to drive it unless you're sure you can go up and over Maya. Yeah, you mentioned that it's an all-around attack for the Fighting Irish. Olivia Miles, clearly our floor general. She's come in. I think this was really her coming out party. Yeah. She got that triple-double, got national attention, but she's really been doing it all season long. She's second in the NCAA in assists per game. And so, with her manning the point guard position, I think that she sets up the team very well. You're right, Dara Mabry, our sharpshooter. We got Maddie Westbeld and Maya Dotson. Sonia Citrone, she was a little quieter this game, but don't worry, she has her time in the next round. But yeah, we have an all-around attack, and I think that we are a very, very strong 5 seed. I think UMass played a great game, but we just outscored them. We, dropping 89 points in the first round. That's a great introduction to the tournament. But facing Oklahoma now in the second round, they were the 4 seed. They had the home court advantage. And for the women's, the first round is always at the lowest seeds home court, and so Notre Dame heading into that game was not favored. But oh my goodness, did they put on a beatdown! Early on, Oklahoma took a 7-5 lead here on Maddie Williams' layup, but this is when the 20-0 run began for Notre Dame in the first quarter. There's Maya Dotson down low, getting the post hook. On the offensive boards, there's Sonia Citrone putting it back. We mentioned her. And then Notre Dame gets the steal here. A lot of transition points in this game. Notre Dame really looked like the faster team, the more athletic team, and combining that with knocking down their shots, they really dominated this game. And Dara Mabry, oh my goodness, this is her first 3 of the first quarter.
but she had 17 points during this 20-0 run.
Only in March.
Only in March, right? So Dara, maybe this was her big game. Look at Olivia Miles finding Dara in transition, feed the hot hand. Notre Dame currently on that 14-0 run. Finding Dara again in the corner. Somehow she's still open, knocks down another three. And then here we got Dara coming off the screen, puts it up, banks it home somehow, off-balance shot. Amazing performance here in the first quarter from Dara Mabry. Oklahoma was able to score, but that didn't stop Dara from hitting those threes. She knocks down another one, caps off that 17-point first quarter. And then going into the half, Notre Dame extended their lead. There's Maddie Westbeld getting a lay-in. And here's Sonia Citron knocking down a jumper from the free throw line. It was really, Notre Dame just rolled right to this victory. After that 20-0 run, the Sooners never really stood a chance. There's Dotson down low. Dotson had 20. Citron had 25, 11 for 11 from the free throw line. Mabry had 29 points, 7 threes. And here's her last one, capping off that 29-point performance. Really just a dominating showcase for the Notre Dame women's team against Oklahoma. Going in, thought to be a very close game. Oklahoma's got some great players, some sharpshooters, two of the leading three-point shooters in the nation. But they didn't even get a chance to match up. Notre Dame ended up winning that game 108-64, just completely blowing the Sooners out of the water. So, John, besides all of those crazy Dara Mabry threes, what did you really like about this game?
Well, Oklahoma and Notre Dame were both two programs this year who had one of the best improvements from last season. This was a new coach here for the Sooners, and they were able to make great strides this year. And I think they were a worthy opponent. But I think Notre Dame's just firing on all cylinders right now. They're finally clicking. I think that first game against UMass was, to kind of get that experience that so often is the biggest knock against this squad, that they have so many freshmen and sophomores without tournament experience that they weren't sure how deep of a run they could go. They tend to get frustrated, and I think Olivia Miles is already our best player. But she has, times where she can get a little frustrated and make, some sloppy plays in the half-court game. That was not the case at all this time. I think that they were very well prepared for this and were just completely rolling in transition. We talked about, Mabry hitting all those threes, but a lot of that comes down to the transition offense that Notre Dame had, whether that's Westbeld, getting the rebound, finding Miles on the outlet pass, and then Miles finding Mabry in the corner, just completely wide open there. And I think that, the fact that they are able to have such a versatile offensive attack, inside out, shooting both 60% from two as well as 40% from three is just absolutely critical. You mentioned Sonia Citron with a big coming out party, 25 points. I think she's the X factor for this team, how far they can go. Against UMass, I talked about the strengths of each player on this team, but Citron had a bit of a quieter game, and it's okay because UMass is not the top-end competition. But as they start playing the Stanfords, the South Carolinas, the NC States of the world, they're going to need a second go-to scorer that can step up, and I think Sonia Citron is that girl.
Yeah, I agree with that. The point about the transition offense. I think that Notre Dame is a battle-tested team, a 5 seed coming out of the ACC. ACC produced 2 1 seeds in the women's bracket this year, and so we faced all the top competition. It was clear that we were the more aggressive, the faster-paced team, and Oklahoma just couldn't catch up. We dominated them both in transition, and when you combine that with shooting, the way that we shot the three. Dara Mabry especially, I don't think that Oklahoma really had any shot against us. But that 20-0 run was awesome. I believe that this was the biggest win in NCAA women's history of a team that's the lower seed.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes. How much did we win by? We won by 44. 44-point victory. That's the largest victory for that stat. So that's really cool. A historic win for Notre Dame.
Biggest loss for Oklahoma in their program's history.
Yeah, so
a little less cool for them.
This will be one to remember for the Irish and, unfortunately, for the Sooners as well. But you mentioned that we're going to need that second scorer when we play the NC States of the world.
Yes.
And, it happens that we're going to be playing NC State. Now, this is going to be a primetime matchup tomorrow, 11:30 a.m., Saturday on ESPN.
Set your alarm clocks, right?
Yeah, got to get up and watch that. So NC State actually hasn't – they finished first in the ACC regular season. They also won the ACC tournament. They beat 16-seed Longwood, 96-68, and 9-seed Kansas State, 89-57. So they haven't really faced any type of competition that's really worried them so far throughout this tournament. They haven't lost since playing us in South Bend at the Purcell Pavilion on February 1st. So they are on an absolute roll. So it'll be interesting to see how we match up against them, especially since it's always hard to beat a team twice. So we beat them. Their last loss. Their last loss is still in their memory from us. Yeah. What do you think? You mentioned Sonia Citron as the X factors. Along with her, what do you think we need to win this game?
Well, I think, frankly, the fact that we have already played Oklahoma, a great team who was favored against us in that matchup, is going to prove invaluable. I think that, again, provides us with more tournament experience and more confidence. We're really hot right now, and I think that is big in March. You know, you look at the men's side, you look at St. Peter's, right? Nobody really expected them to come out of, you always see Cinderellas come out of nowhere when you ride the hot hand. You look at Dara Mabry, who's been getting, you know, absolutely nuclear from three these last two games. I think if she can continue that trend, we'll have a good shot against NC State. And I also think that just the level of competition in the women's college game is there's such a wide gap between, you know, the top 5 seeds and everybody else. So I feel like NC State's kind of been able to cruise past number 9 Kansas State, you know, number 16 Longwood. They're not really tested yet. Notre Dame's going to be that first test. If they can come out early, kind of catch them by surprise, punch them in the mouth a little bit with physical gameplay, I think that's the recipe to success. That's what they did before when they did beat NC State, you know, at home all those months ago. It was, you know, Maya Dodson was such an integral part of that team. She had a double-double, 20 and 10, while absolutely locking down Alyssa Cunane. She's obviously, in my opinion, the best player on that Wolfpack squad. And, you know, using her size and muscle is just going to be, you know, the Irish squad route to victory. They need to out-rebound NC State like they did before. You know, they won 45-38 in the rebounding category last game. They had 18 second chance points off of that. And simply, I think if they play bigger, Notre Dame's a very big team. You look at Olivia Miles as the point guard, who could, you know, start as a forward on almost any other team. The fact that they have that length, they have that size and strength, they just need to go out there, play good defense, continue to, you know, just absolutely be a menace on the perimeter like they did against Oklahoma, held them to 30% shooting, one of the best shooting teams in the country with a dynamic backcourt. I think that if they're able to keep that defense, you know, locked and loaded and play with energy, that's your key to victory. You just simply have to out-hustle. I know that's cliche, but they need to use their size to their advantage because, frankly, NC State's a little more skilled, so we need to rely on our physicality in order to win.
Yeah, you mentioned the matchup with Alyssa Cunane, and yes, she is the leading scorer. Right here, you'll see, yeah, exactly. We need to play physical. You know, here, crashing the glass, getting to the line. Notre Dame won the free throw line battle, went 15 for 17 against NC State back in February. NC State went 11 for 14. So we got to the line more often, and we converted those chances. Yes. NC State's not a team that's going to turn it over. They're not a team that's going to miss shots, open shots, and they're not a team that's going to miss free throws. So you need to convert and play an efficient game. And to do that, you need to play physical as well. You need to get open shots by being physical, getting in the paint, and looking to kick out when it's there or finish over, you know, the bigs. And the Cunane especially, you know, we got her in foul trouble early. She had 4 fouls, ended up only playing 23 minutes. And so that helped us a lot. I think that, you know, see here, she's clearly playing without trying to foul because, you know, she wanted to stay in the game there. And I think that if we can, you know, kind of replicate that recipe and trying to attack Cunane and make her worry about, you know, her physicality, I think that is very important. But I also look at the next factor as well for NC State on offense and for us to have attention on defense is Diamond Johnson. She comes off the bench, and she's electric. She's a small guard, but she can score in the paint, as you can see on this take, or she can hit off-balance 3. She comes here off the screen, step back through the legs, under control, bottoms. And so Diamond Johnson is a great player, and we held her to 6 for 23 from the field in our first matchup against them. But, you know, you can see that she can score. She didn't stop shooting. She's kept shooting 23 attempts. She went 1 for 10 from 3. That was actually her only make from 3. It
was a good one.
Yeah, it was a great one. And, you know, she probably won't have such a poor performance again from the field, so we'll need to account for that. But I think that those two are the main two that we need to look forward to when we're facing NC State.
Yeah. You speak of Johnson. I just am so impressed with her change of pace, her ability, you know, to accelerate, you know, like that, you know, just to have that twitchiness, that burst of speed to blow by our guards, who, again, very big and athletic, but the fact that she's able to, you know, go up and over Maya Dodson with her speed is a testament to her athleticism. That's something that I feel like, you know, if she gets a little too hot, maybe you start playing a bit of zone then to account for that speed, because as she said, only 1 of 10 from 3. She can't hit those, but if she's not having a day from deep, then you know that you can lay off a little bit and force her to shoot when she's not feeling comfortable doing so. Talked about being physical, trying to get Alyssa Cunane in foul trouble. I think Sonia Citron's the perfect person to do that. She is fearless, always attacking the rim, driving the lane, and willing to go up and over guys for the, you know, force finish. She had 11 free throws attempts against Oklahoma and is great at drawing fouls and getting to the line. If she can do that against Cunane, I think that's going to be another thing in Notre Dame's favor.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I think that Citron, her aggressiveness is really the key. because against UMass, she wasn't as aggressive. We didn't need her to be as aggressive, but she took that role against Oklahoma. She leads us on the year in free throws made and free throw percentage. She shoots, I believe, 84% from the line. So if Citrone can get the job done, attack Cunane and try to get them in the air and try to draw some fouls, I think that would help us slow down the game first of all, and get them in foul trouble and really just control the pace of the game. Going in, I have 3 keys. I think that we need to win the offensive glass.
Yes.
We won 13-7, almost doubled their amount of offensive rebounds.
Second chance opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. Win the turnover battle and win at the free throw line. I already mentioned the free throw line, but winning at the turnover battle as well. As you can see here, we got a few transition opportunities off of steals. Olivia Miles on the finish there. But yeah, we won the turnover battle against NC State 8-11 in the first game. And they turn it over a lot less than us. We turn it over. Olivia Miles, she gets a lot of great assists, but she still is a freshman. Has had some issues with the turnovers. Not big issues at all, but still,
something to watch.
We need to take care of the ball, especially with the athleticism that NC State has. So I think that if we win those things, I think that the Irish have a great chance of knocking off NC State. I think it's a solid matchup for us. We know we've beaten them before. We know what it takes. But I'm interested to see in the first big-time matchup in Niele Ivy's career as a head coach in the NCAA tournament. She had so many great moments as a player and assistant coach, but this is really time for her to get her first marquee win, and I'm really excited to see if they can get it done.
Yeah, I think that they can. I'm confident in Coach Ivy, and you said when Miles does get frustrated, make those turnovers, that's exactly when she knows to take her time out and have a step aside, talk with her star point guard, calm those nerves, and I think that's really the key, that she knows her players so well and knows exactly what it takes to win a championship here at Notre Dame. That's going to be key for our future success as a program.
Yep, I agree. So make sure to tune in. It's tomorrow on Saturday. NC State takes on Notre Dame at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Catch that on ESPN. So make sure to tune in and support our Fighting Irish women. So now with that said, we're going to move on. The men also advanced to NCAA tournament, first time in a while for this entire recruiting class, really. So very exciting stuff. The men, they played in the first 4. So we were one of the last 4 teams in. Coming out of the ACC, finished second in the regular season, dropped the first ACC game. And so we got slated to play Rutgers here in the first 4 in Dayton. And Rutgers took it early in the first half. Kayla McConnell started out on fire, finishes that layup at the buzzer. But Notre Dame storms back. Dane Goodwin takes it to the rack here, finishes an and-one layup. Great game from Dane Goodwin in this one. But this game was all-time classic. Anyone who watched it knows that it was just a great game overall. Geo Baker, pretty much unstoppable down there at the end, ties the game there. And then with the game tied, last-second shot for Geo. Cormac Ryan with some good defense. Baker cannot get to fall, so we go into overtime. Nate Leszewski with the lay-in here. Notre Dame goes up 2. And the response, shot clock going down. Ron Harper Jr. banks in the three-pointer. Rutgers takes a 1-point lead. Notre Dame cannot convert on the offensive end, so Rutgers has the ball here. Notre Dame was going to foul, but Rutgers throws it away to Cormac Ryan, who takes it to the rim, finishes. Notre Dame is up 1. Geo Baker with a chance to tie. Kicks it out to Paul Mulcahy, hits the three-pointer. Rutgers go up by 2 with only 8 seconds left. Notre Dame gives it to Blake Wesley, the All-ACC freshman, finishes at the rim, ties the game up. We go into double overtime in Dayton. Double overtime, Paul Atkinson was able to take over. He had a great game, finished with 26 points and 2 blocks. Notre Dame up 3 here with 20 seconds left. Ron Harper Jr. answers again with a deep three-pointer. And then Notre Dame, at the last second, Paul Atkinson gets the offensive rebound, puts it in. Notre Dame goes up 2 with 1 second. Rutgers cannot get a shot off at the end, and Notre Dame wins one of the most exciting games in first 4 history, double overtime. I happened to be there in the stands, and it was one of the greatest moments I've ever had as a fan of Notre Dame, especially Notre Dame basketball. So fun, worth the 4-hour drive there and back. Got back home at 4 a.m. in the morning. Totally worth it. It was such an amazing game. Watching that game, what did you think going on in your head, John?
Well, you talked about one of the most exciting games in first 4 history. I think this was the most exciting game in the entirety of the tournament this year. We still got to wait and see, but it's going to be very difficult for anything else to match this. Double overtime, thriller, both teams trading, shots right at the end there. A lot of great scoring, but great defensive plays too. It was just absolutely electric. So many times I thought we were out of it. This team kept coming back. I think that's the story of Notre Dame basketball, especially in recent memory. Just when you count them out, they keep coming back. Last year, after another disappointing finish in the ACC tournament and not making the March Madness, people were talking about Mike Bray, is he on his way out? Does he still have what it takes? And I love Mike Bray. I think he's a fun guy, great human and a great coach. The players love him, and I really want to see him succeed here. I think he was able to prove all the doubters wrong this year, and he's going to be here for a long time. Slated to finish 8th in the ACC, they finished 2nd. Not expected to make the tournament. Not only did they make the tournament, they won 2 games and made it all the way to the round of 32. It was very impressive, especially given, in my opinion, the personnel on the team. Not the most talented group, but they play to their strengths. And all good Mike Brey teams have good guard play. And I think you saw that this year with Blake Wesley and Prentice Hub. I like Hub's transition to a secondary ball handler this year, bit of a catch-and-shoot three-point guy. He didn't have the best game against Rutgers, but I think it's good to give Wesley a bit of a break from the ball carrier responsibilities when he gets tired. Blake Wesley, he's been the phenom all season. Bit inconsistent, only 4 of 17 against Rutgers, but fearless. You saw him attacking the rim at the end there and tying the game up when it mattered, and I think that's something that you can't teach. That's something that this entire Notre Dame team has, this fearlessness to keep going. Paul Atkinson, absolutely stellar. As you said, 26 points, 2 blocks, 6 rebounds. He's the keystone to this entire team, I feel like. The most important player because of what he brings to defense in his size and versatility. He was absolutely integral to that victory against Rutgers.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement with you there. Paul Atkinson Jr., huge transfer out of Yale. He was the co-Ivy League Player of the Year in 2019. Didn't have the 2020 season because of COVID. The Ivy League did not play basketball that year. So he came over to Notre Dame, grad transfer, to get his degree, and man, has he been a huge addition for us. We needed a traditional center who has a post presence, and that is exactly what he gets done. As I mentioned earlier, 26 points, 13 for 15 from the field.
High efficiency, right?
Very high efficiency, 2 blocks. He knocks down his free throws. But this was really an all-around great game. Nate Leshevsky, 18 points on 6 of 8 shooting. He's always been a very high-efficient shooter throughout his career, and especially this season. Cormac Ryan dropped 16 points, had 3 steals, including the game-saving steal in overtime.
Yes.
We were down 1. Yeah, we were going to have to foul, but Cormac made a great play on the ball, took it right to the rim, as you should, to take the lead. And he's really our best defender on the perimeter. Cormac Ryan, without him, I think Geo Baker made a lot of very, very tough shots, but Cormac made him make tough shots.
Yeah.
And when he missed, it was also a tough shot. So if Geo Baker, he got no open looks in the second half when we put Cormac on him. And so he did a great job there. Prentice Hub, you mentioned that he didn't have a great game in the scoring department, but he did have 7 assists to 0 turnovers. And he's really, I think he's taken a very great lead in the role of our facilitator.
Yes.
Prentice Hub, he led the ACC this year in ACC play in assist to turnover ratio. And that's really like what you need from your senior point guard. When you have a freshman, when you have a freshman coming in, who the game is a little quick for Blake. It was moving a little fast. Prentice was always there to slow it down, get the ball in the right player's hands, and he did just that in this Rutgers game. Then you mentioned Blake's game-tying layup. It was an amazing play, and we always look to Blake at the end of the games. So he came through once again. Just a great game overall, Rutgers. A time and date that I'll never forget, definitely. But that got us to advance into the first round of the NCAA tournament, the round of 64, in which we played number 6 seed Alabama out of the SEC. A great game. We went down to San Diego. So here you can see Prentice hitting an early 3. Shot clock was winding down, launching from probably 40, 45 feet.
Jeez.
Knocks it down. Here J.D. Davison answers. We'll mention that Javon Quinterly, one of Alabama's top guards, he did go down with a knee injury early in the first half, unfortunately. We hope he's okay. There was a great high-low pass from Paul to Nate. Great finish there from Leshevsky. And so Notre Dame, at the end of the first half here, building a lead, going on a little run. Prentice, a nice pass up to Cormac Ryan, lays it in. So Notre Dame ends the first half with the lead. And then the second half is when Cormac, or should I say Scormac Ryan, took over. Cormac Ryan had 29 points, 7 threes. Pretty much everything he put up was falling. There you see Blake Wesley with the dunk. Blake had a great game as well against Alabama. But here's the best play of the game, in my opinion. Cormac Ryan wraps around the back, fading away, cashes the 3. Everything he put up was going in. And here to ice it, Blake gets the steal, throws it down. Notre Dame advances 78-64 out of the West region. So this was a really fun game. I also made the trip to San Diego. I wasn't planning on it, but after being at the game at Dayton, I was like, I have to be there, man.
Right.
Like,
see the magic continue.
Yeah, if I was at that game, if we won against Alabama, which we did, and I wasn't there, I was like, I have to be
Maybe
there.
you're the reason they won. You're the good luck charm.
I'd love to think so. That'd be awesome. But no, it was the guys on the floor. They really just did their jobs. Had a great game. So what especially did you like from this Alabama game?
Well, as you talked about Cormac Ryan, 7 of 9 from 3, 29 points. He usually isn't the go-to scorer, but I think that showing flashes that he can step up, and I think that's for me, I know we're only focusing on this year and highlighting what a great run it was for our boys, but I have great faith that if he can, keep up the consistency of that stroke, he can become a more consistent scorer then. I don't think, you can just go 7 of 9 from 3 against one of the top teams in the country in Alabama if you don't have the ability to do so on a more regular basis. And again, that's all coming with great defense. People sometimes criticize Cormac Ryan because he doesn't always score a whole lot. You look at the box scores like, oh, Cormac looking dangerous tonight, 4 points, but he brings the defense that casual watchers don't get to see. He was able to slow down Alabama's guards, which are the focus of their team. That they are a lot like the Oklahoma women's team, very much guard dominated, and that's what gets them their points. I think that Cormac Ryan stepped up on both ends of the floor, and I really just couldn't be more impressed with him. Blake Wesley, again, more efficient. I think that he showed consistency of what he can be in that game, 8 of 14, and with, again, an electric dunk to seal the game right there. Obviously, Paul Atkinson, was able to step up defensively as he has all year. There was concern coming from the Ivy League, like, oh, can he do it against, SEC competition, against ACC competition, when the guys are bigger and stronger and faster and more athletic, and he absolutely did, both against Rutgers and, again, here against Alabama.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Cormac Ryan, it's really great to see the coming out party that he was able to have on a national stage, in front of the whole nation. They're tuning in to watch March Madness, because he came in as a transfer from Stanford after freshman year. In his sophomore year, worked his tail off every day in practice, and Mike Brey named him a captain before he had ever put on a Notre Dame jersey and played in a Notre Dame basketball game. And that speaks volumes to the type of player that he is every single day and the type of teammate that he is. And so, him going for 29, I was hoping that he would get to 30, just to round that off. But what a performance from Cormac. Willed us to victory in that first round. You mentioned Blake. I love how he attacked the rim. He settled for some shots against Rutgers. He took that to heart. Started going to the rim against these huge Alabama defenders.
Right.
Went strong. Got those 18 points. He had 3 steals. Played great defense. Always had his hand in the passing lane. And then, again, Paul Atkinson, you're right, had an all-around great game. He had 13 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, and 1 block to fill the entire box score.
Swiss Army knife right there.
Besides points, all of those led the team or tied for the lead for the team. And so, a really great game from Paul and a really physical game. He set the tone early, and then, Cormac went and finished it off. So a really impressive performance. People were doubting the ACC heading into the tournament, and I think that Notre Dame put on a great showing in that first round.
I completely agree. That was a fun game to watch and really shows the potential of this Notre Dame squad.
Yeah, you're right. All right, so after that Alabama game, Notre Dame advanced to the second round, the round of 32, to play 3-seed Texas Tech. And this was a very physical game. Texas Tech coming in with the #1 defense in the country. Trey Wirtz coming off the screen there to hit a 3. Points were hard to come by for both teams in this game. But Texas Tech getting the steal there, taking advantage of their defense in transition. Obenor with the finish. He had a great game. He's a good shooter, great big man. Heading into the half, Notre Dame down 3. Blake Wesley with the offensive rebound, off his own offensive rebound. Gets the putback. Notre Dame goes in the half, down 1. Here in the second half, Dane Goodwin had a great start to the second half here, taking that with a pump fake, taking that ball right into the lane, finishing with the right. Tie game, 7 minutes left. McCuller for Texas Tech comes off the screen, gets the open 3, nails it. And as we're heading down to the crunch time, 5 minutes left, Dane Goodwin with the answer coming off the screen, knocks down the 3. The Irish go up 1. I was actually on TV there for a second, so that was awesome. Blake Wesley coming off the screen there. Notre Dame down 1 with 1 minute left. Blake taking the ball to the basket, gets blocked by Marcos Silva Santos. Notre Dame has to foul. Texas Tech responds by making both free throws. On the next ensuing possession, Blake takes the ball in. Errant pass, goes wide, out of bounds. Texas Tech gets the ball, knocks down the free throws again. Last-ditch effort for Notre Dame here. Prentice Hub takes it in. You get the offensive rebound. It's desperation time. Cormac Ryan will put up the 3. It's no good. Another offensive rebound for Paul Atkinson. Blocked. Ball comes out to Texas Tech, and they get the exclamation point dunk here to end it. It's an unfortunate ending to the season, especially in a game where you really feel like Notre Dame had a chance at the end and kind of just couldn't get it together when it mattered most. But ended up losing by 6 to the Texas Tech, who is a team. We're filming this in advance now. It's Friday the next week. So Texas Tech actually lost last night to Duke in a battle, a great game. And Texas Tech showed that they are title contenders. They're a very good team, and I think that Notre Dame came out Played very disciplined, didn't turn it over too often. I believe we only had 11 turnovers or so. So we played well, played to our advantages, didn't let Texas Tech get in transition a lot. The loss stings a lot, but I think that this team has a lot to be proud of. In this Texas Tech game, John, what did you notice especially?
I was just most impressed with, again, the continued versatility of this Notre Dame squad to really do it all. That they were able to match Texas Tech's stingy defense. We talked about the Red Raiders being the #1 defensive team in the country. That's impressive. And again, you saw what they did against Duke last night in Paulo Banchero. That's, speaks volumes to their ability. And the fact that Notre Dame was able to go out there, hold the Red Raiders to a 35.6 field goal percentage, 26.7 from three, which was largely around the same their numbers, which is why it went to the wire at the end there. It just didn't go their way in the end. There were some questionable calls at the end that you can't make excuses for. But obviously, if they would have just swung the other way in Notre Dame's favor, you could be looking at a Duke Notre Dame rematch last night. I think that once again, Blake Wesley has the potential to be our best player, but he just, his shots weren't falling that night. I think it does come from his inexperience. He's going to be a great player in the NBA one day. I just think another year here in South Bend to, fine-tune his game, slow the game down a little bit, like you said, learn from Coach Bray, learn from Prentice Hub, will make him such a better player, a more well-rounded player, and really cement him as the floor general. We talked about Hub being a bit of a facilitator and Wesley's space. He's more of a pure scorer in that regard, great defender too. If I think Wesley's able to come back a bit more and mature, then he can take on the full responsibilities of the point guard, run the offense, pass the ball, get those assists. Sometimes when he's on the drive, he puts his head down on those pick and rolls, and he missed Atkinson for a couple of easy lay-ins right there. That could have been the difference in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It seemed like we got sped up a little too much there at the end. Wesley, when he goes to the basket, it's very key for with his explosiveness. Playing off 1 foot is not a problem, but playing off only 1 foot can be a little bit of an issue at times, and that's just something that you learn with experience. And he got caught up in the air a few times there at the end, especially on that errant pass. We had 3 shooters open on the perimeter, and he recognized that. He recognized that as the ball handler. He was like, okay, I got the whole defense to collapse. I did my job, but unfortunately the pass was a little wide of Hub and Leshevsky. But that just comes with time, and I think that the team has all our faith in Blake.
Yes. The
team believes that with the game on the line, Blake will make the right decisions. And so, that showed. Bray put the ball in his hands every time. Unfortunately, this game against Texas Tech, it didn't work out in our favor. But I don't think that there's any regrets with the team as to who we wanted the ball to be in the hands of at that final minute. I do want to point out, Dane Goodwin had a great game. He had 3 threes, 14 points.
Only one to shoot above 50%.
Yeah. As a team, Notre Dame shot 33 from the field, 32 from 3, and 67 from the free throw line. Not the percentages you want if you're going to be a team like Texas Tech. However, we did not take too many tough shots. We had a lot of open shots. We did a great job of penetrating and kicking. I think Texas Tech has some questionable defensive strategy. I think it works in the Big 12 and a lot of what they do. But I think against us, they should have wanted us to shoot more contested layups because that's one of our weaknesses, finishing through contact.
Yeah, being a smaller team.
Exactly.
With the bigs that Texas Tech has.
Yeah, but we have shooters on the perimeter, and we knock down threes, and they were letting us get open shots. They just weren't falling as much as they usually do, unfortunately. But a great tournament run for Notre Dame, something that wasn't expected, especially earlier in the year.
Right.
We had some big early losses to Boston College, and there were some close games with some teams that shouldn't have been close games, and a lot of fans were kind of throwing the season away. But this team really showed how tough they are and how good they really are, and they turned it around, making the tournament. That's a huge accomplishment. They did something that not a lot of people in the world are ever able to do. They played in March Madness. That's a dream come true. And so I just want to congratulate the team on a great season. I had a lot of fun going through the season myself, and just a great career for the guys that are leaving. Prentice Hub, Paul Atkinson, great careers for them. And so just all around, great job by Notre Dame basketball team. Real quick, before we end the show, the Notre Dame Fencing Championships, or the Collegiate Fencing Championships, are being held here at Notre Dame. And Notre Dame is a great fencing school. So the women's championships were on Thursday and Friday, so they ended today. Actually, as they're ending now, as we were talking. But we led as a team coming into day 2 today for the women's championships. And then congratulations to Kaylin Sieh. I think Sieh is how you pronounce it. Kaylin Sieh. She's the Epee national champion, so congratulations to her. Amita Berthier, she is in the national championship right now, and Atara Greenbaum is also competing for national championship. Berthier in the foil. And so those three did a great job individually. The women as a team, a great job as well, heading into the last day on top. So hopefully we got the win. It was going on while we were live here, so we are not sure, but we'll make sure to go check, and we advise you to also go check. And then make sure to tune in tomorrow. You can catch it on Watch ESPN or ESPN3 is the men's championship fencing. That'll be held here at Notre Dame. So go check that out if you're here on campus. But if not, tune in and follow our men's team. Let's wish them the best of luck.